Hey everybody, so if you're new to me or new to this channel, then welcome. My name is Mark Allard-Will and I'm a writer for comic books and graphic novels in Saskatoon in Canada. But today I'm doing something very different. I'm actually undertaking a challenge, a fitness challenge and one for charity. I'm personally dubbing this challenge the Roman Challenge. And the reason why is because I'm setting myself the challenge of cycling 90 miles within a 4-hour cycle time. Now, why 90 miles? Why the name the Roman Challenge? Because this is the approximate length of the Hadrian's Wall Cycleway, not to be confused with Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian's Wall is 73 miles long, but the cycleway which accompanies the wall has to deviate for a short period of time, taking up to approximately 84 miles in length. However, for the purpose of the challenge, I'm going to round it off to 90 miles. Now, I mentioned it was for charity. What charity am I doing it for? It's the Wirth Hats counselling fund. I'm not affiliated with Wirth Hats, I'm not sponsored by them, endorsed by them. I just saw their fund and I was so enamoured. I just fell so much in love with what they're doing. Now imagine around the world, Western nations and nations around the world can do a fairly good job at getting mental health support to the people. But it doesn't cover everyone, and there's a big gap when it comes to the impoverished and the working poor. So what Wirth Hats, a company in Vancouver in Canada, decided to do was establish a fund which would connect psychotherapists and counsellors from BetterHelp with people who cannot afford counselling from around the English-speaking world. All you have to do is go to their website and apply for their counselling, and if you're accepted, you get 8 free sessions. And then if you need more and you're really struggling to get more help, they can try and connect you with more help. So if you feel taken by that story like I was, please go into the description of this YouTube video and please consider donating to that fund. Also, if you need that help, go to the Wirth Hats website, go to the counselling part of the website and apply. Alright, so without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so this is my setup, and as you can see it is a spin bike. Now any cycling enthusiast or any cycling pro would probably be losing their mind right now. Why didn't you have a turbo trainer? Why didn't you have one of the smart trainers? Well, you know, I had plans to get a turbo trainer, but then you know what happened? The pandemic hit, so you know, give me a bit of a break there. And anyway, I am still training up, I am still gaining muscle mass. I'm still building up my endurance training for hopefully what will be the Tour de Canada 2021. Then over here we have got my laptop set up, so that's going to record me from my webcam, and then you'll also be able to see my stopwatch on screen as well. I've also got a water bottle and some lupini beans. So I'm taking the Roman part of this very serious. Lupini beans were a very primitive military ration that Roman soldiers would have carried with them into areas that were considered inhospitable, areas where they couldn't hunt for their rations or areas where they could not capture food stores from conquered territories. Alright, and off we go. So as you can see, this is the first part of the challenge. I decided to break it into 3 thirds, taking a 1-hour break after the 2-hour mark. But here we are in the first third. I took a short break after this one, and this was weirdly actually one of the hardest parts of the challenge. As you can see, I actually had issues with my pedals and had to stop various times. And this is kind of weird considering that I do high intensity interval training daily. I was actually feeling pain in my shins, and I managed to get it under control, and just towards the end here, just barely over 1 hour, managed to knock out 30 miles. And yes, miles, not kilometers. 30 miles in just over 1 hour, which was surprising considering with all the times I had to stop, I probably lost a good minute. And now we'll hand over to past Mark for a little lupini bean review. I teased these earlier. the lupini beans. I'm taking a break at the 1/3 mark just for about 10 minutes. So let's give these a try, see if they're the energy food that the ancient Romans cracked them up to be. So they're kind of flatter and more discus than I thought they'd be. So let's give them a quick try here. Oh, if I can grab them. Not bad tasting. The garlic and sea salt flavour really come through. Pretty good. A little bit mealy. But you don't need many of these to feel full. Wow. Actually, a few in, they feel pretty good actually. Taste pretty good. I will let you know if they give me energy and a noticeable amount of it as we go through. Alright, and we're back with the second third. This part of the challenge was a real challenge, a real test, and I was struggling mentally more than anything. This was the mental fatigue was really setting in. For the first third I was listening to music and my mind towards the end was wavering. I couldn't concentrate on the music and I was too distracted by the physical pain. So when it came to the second third, I actually asked my mother all the way back in the UK to call me on Skype. So I actually had that Skype phone call with my mother, which actually helped to distract me. And this was the easiest part of the challenge, for sure. Hey everybody, so I just took my 1 hour break after 2 hours. Well, 2 hours and 10 minutes. 2 hours and 10 minutes was when I hit 60 miles. So I had a 1 hour break from 3:41 to 4:41 p.m. And so those lupini beans, did they give me more energy? Yes. Helped me really put down the power in that second hour. But did kind of turn my stomach a little bit. So would I recommend them? Yeah, but with caution. Just don't use them in big high intensity workouts. I feel really good now. But yeah, they did initially turn my stomach a little bit. I have also changed my lycras because they were getting real heavy with sweat and started to get cold and just felt awful. Luckily I did a slow spin just for about 5 minutes and that saved my legs, because putting down that kind of power to get 60 miles in barely over 2 hours is very stressful on your legs. So if you're going to try and replicate anything like that, just be aware that you should do a slow spin or a slow walk afterwards for at least 5 minutes, which is what I did. Alright, so back to it. Alright, and we're back with the final third. This, by far, was the hardest part of the challenge. As you can see on my face, this was absolute agony. I was in pain, and I really wanted to stop. I almost considered quitting right here. I almost considered quitting at the 74-mile mark. And I had to stop a lot and pause the timer before resuming my cycle time. Now, one thing I'll say is that I had to, in the end, transfer over to a high-intensity interval training session on the GCN YouTube channel just so that I could distract myself enough to push through. This was hard. I don't think I've ever pushed the wall this far. I can do 30 miles in the day, I can do all of that, but wow, trying to get this 90 miles down, that was intense. And then as you can see at the end here, I show you to camera proof that I hit 90 miles. So my bike is actually a spin bike that is made for the United States market. It's a cheap import, and as you know, the United States tracks their distances in miles, not in kilometers. So that number you're seeing there for certain is miles. Alright, so if you think that I did a great job at doing this and being able to pull it off despite all that pain, despite all the adversity, then please consider giving money to the Wirth Hats Counselling Fund. And also, if you know somebody who cannot afford mental health counselling, but they desperately want and need it, please also send them to Wirth Hats for their application for counselling. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for believing in me. It means so much to me.